If you like hoarding and collecting things, you're going to be a great rec raider. Let's see why. In Rec Raiders, you'll be collecting tons of sunken treasure, seashells, and fish. This game may look like there's a lot going on, because there kind of is. This is definitely one of Kid Table Board Games' biggest games to date. There's tons of ways to collect points. It's basically a point salad kind of game, but the main mechanic that you'll be using is dice selection and worker placement. So at the beginning of the game, whoever the first player is will roll some dice, and the really cool thing about this is you roll it into the box lid. So here's a box lid, and you look inside of it, there's all these like seashells printed on there. You're going to roll the dice into there, and then you're going to take the dice out, and if they landed on a seashell, you'll take them out with the number that is currently showing and place it on the seashell that it matches. There's a spot for if they're not on a seashell. Once everything's laid out, then we're going to start the selection phase. And then it's kind of continuous from there. If it's ever your turn and you go to select a die and there is no dice, you're just going to re-roll, and you'll be the first one to select dice for that round. There kind of really isn't rounds. It just kind of goes and goes and goes until the game end is triggered. When you select a dice, you'll basically be looking at the pips on the dice, and that is where you can place one of your divers on the board. If you select from one of the 3 sections that has a seashell, you also get one of those shells as a bonus. They can be used for a variety of different things. The main thing that you use them for is buying aquarium pieces with the fish, which are worth victory points. You can spend the conch shells to add or subtract from a die, and you can spend as many as you want. So if you're drafting and you're like, oh, I want to get a seashell, but I also wish this was a 3, well, you can take this, get the seashell, spend one of your conchs, and knock that 4 down to a 3, and now you can go to the 3 spot where you're looking at getting. One of the coolest things about the worker placement in this game is that if somebody's in a spot that you want, you can actually place on top of it. So if I select this 4, I'll take it, I'll take the conch shell as well, I place them on my board, and then I could place into this 4 over here, and there's already a guy there, so he's actually going to get bumped out of that spot, and he's going to go up onto shore into the 4 spot. So I'll get to place here, which allows me to collect one of the treasures from whatever treasure spot I just moved to. Whoever got bumped out of that spot, they'll go to the matching spot on the beach, and they'll collect any shells that it shows there. So whenever you collect a treasure, you can look at it and decide whether or not you want to place it face up in your vault, or if you want to place it face down in your exhibit area. The exhibits, you're trying to match all of these goals that are out here, all these exhibits that everybody else is also trying to collect. They have requirements on them. So if you see this one right here, it says you need a purple diamond, 2 yellows, and then one of the ancient grease looking ones, the little pot. If you collect all of those types and you put them into one exhibit, whether or not they're in that order, you can claim this at the end of your turn. If you have them in the exact order, so if you have purple, yellow, yellow, brown, you actually get the little bonus listed in the bottom corner here, which on this one you get to pick one of the seashells as a bonus. It also has a coin value, which is the amount of points it's worth at the end of the game. When you complete it, you'll just collect it and discard all of the treasures that you used to claim it. Keeping them face up, you'll place them into your vault, and you're trying to fill up across the bottom, and then you go up to the next row, and etc. Each of the rows that you complete with the same type or color will get you bonus points that are listed in that row. So the bottom row, if you can fill it all with purple, you'll get 3 points. At the end of the game, you also get a bonus point for every unique item. So there are 3 unique types of gems in the gem. So there's a ruby, a sapphire, and a diamond. If you can collect all 3 of those, that's perfect. Then you're getting the 3 points for completing the row, plus a bonus point for each one, so 6 points. The next row is 4, 5, 6. So you can get a lot of points if you can get all 3 types from all 4 sets. And the very last thing you do on your turn is if you have any seashells you would like to spend on one of the aquariums, you can buy one. You have to start with a bottom. Once you have a bottom, you can put as many middles in it as you want, and then you can top it off for kind of a extra scoring mechanism. You do not have to top them off, but if you do, they usually can score you some big points. This one right here says it's worth 2 coins for every scallop shell that you have. So like if I were to build this first one that had 2 shells in it, that's worth an extra 4 points now. But like if I can get this manta ray, it's got 2 more shells, and then the shark's worth 2 shells, and then I top that off, that's a ton of points in the beginning. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 points. Like, that's crazy. When I played this with my mom, that was the strategy she went with. She just kept buying and buying and buying these things. She had a huge fish tank, and then she actually did top it off with one that like scored so many points that it gave her the edge right at the end. So there's no right or wrong way to play this game. You could totally focus on getting a bunch of the aquariums, or you can focus on filling your vault or exhibits. The exhibits are the way that we trigger the end game. So if you're the one rushing to get, some easy exhibits done, you might be able to just squeak by getting the most points from doing exhibits and forcing the end of the game. And when it comes to your turn and all your guys are out there and you have to move, you just have to move to a different spot. You can't move within the same diving area, so I can't draft a 5 and then move in the same spot. I have to move somewhere else, and I can never bump myself out, so that kind of you start to block yourself. If people draft the dice that you actually want, you might have to take a die and bump someone out of a spot, and you're like, oh dang. The really cool thing is if you can place in between yourself. So if you have 2 divers in a spot already and you place another diver in between, you're going to collect one for you and then one for each of your other divers. And that's something that goes for everyone. If anyone ever places next to you, you get to collect a treasure as well. So it really starts to ramp up with the treasure collecting. It's kind of like, if you're finding stuff and I'm there with you, I'm like, oh look, I'm finding stuff too. It's really fun. You constantly are kind of tempting people, like, no, come over here and dig with me. We're gonna find all these gems. So all the components in this game are amazing. Like, these diver meeples are the coolest thing I've ever seen. They look really awesome. The seashells really pop. All the artwork is super awesome. They spared no expense in artwork. It's great. These player boards are super well designed. It has all the references you need. The little crab meeples are really cool. They're mainly used for scoring at the end of the game, but during the game you can use them to mark what color you are, because you could forget at some point you could have all of your workers on the board. It's a very family-friendly game. I taught my mom how to play it, and she typically only plays games like Skip-Bo and Uno. She understood it and she won, and I was proud of myself for teaching her how to win. One of my other favorite components about this game is the dice rolling into this thing. This is really ingenious of okay, if you it kind of puts a little bit of dexterity. If you can try and get all the dice onto the shells, we're all going to get bonuses from the shells. The scoring being inside the edge of the box top is kind of it works though. The little crab guys fit perfectly in there, so you can move around. You just have to have one person tally it up. It can definitely come down to those last little points at the end where, I just happened to finish off the set and get these bonus points, or when I scored this, I lock in an extra shell for an extra 2 points. Little things like that can really add up. It's always a close game. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely family friendly. The box says 10 plus. I can see that. I could definitely see some 10-year-olds really enjoying this. Families enjoying this. Buddies enjoying this. It's a great game. If it sounds like something you'd like, we'll have a link in the description box down below where you can get yourself a copy. While you're down there, leave a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never be bored. Get out of here, bug.